Hello and welcome to the Wrestling Headlines NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver review, covering both nights of all of the action. All of the actions crunched into one packed out hour or so of talking. How are we going to do it? We'll find out. Find out how we're going to do it. And I'm joined today by Wrestling Headlines resident interviewer and newsy man. It's Joey G. Welcome, Joey.
Hey, hello, Mr. Matt. Hello, the imp. Hello, impy baby. I have been waiting to have my time to join you on one of your reviews. You've been doing fantastic work reviewing shows on a weekly basis, and I'm just happy that we get to shoot the breeze over what was two fantastic nights of wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. This is the first double shows before WrestleMania, so as an English person, I'm feeling it. I was like, no, I'll be fine this year.
Yeah, it'll be fine this year. I mean, you're up at what, like 1, 2, 3 in the morning watching the carnage of the last two nights. There's something to be said about the dedicated fan base over there in England, and you, sir, are the best one of all of them.
Oh, Joey, warming my heart on this cold April day. Seriously, it flurried with snow whilst I was streaming the other day. It's genuinely cold in April. But yes, so NXT TakeOver was generally two fantastic nights of wrestling, which is fantastic to say about NXT once again. I put up a column over the weekend about how I'll be honest, with a Photoshop I made for the NXT reviews, but I thought was too good, so I had to use it for the column. But yeah, well, I've been feeling so much more positive about NXT because I posted a column back in December about how I was feeling a little bit down, not quite on board with NXT. I wasn't into War Games really, and obviously in response, you're just an AEW shill. Oh, you don't like it. Oh, just another negative comment about WWE. But I thought I'd put one out this time, no, I'm genuinely enjoying NXT. A lot of the issues I had feel like they've been addressed. I'm not into everything, obviously. It's still got certain tropes in there. But on the whole, I'm really enjoying what's going on with NXT as a whole right now. And I feel like building to TakeOver, I was in. They've done a job. They made me really excited for a TakeOver to go the way that it actually did. And just all the applause in the world right now for Hunter's yellow people. So
absolutely. Yes, all of the little yellow minions. I'm with you, Matt. I mean, I was not feeling NXT. I was not on board with the yellow and black brand for a while. I also skipped TakeOver War Games this year. I was not really into it. It felt like weekly TV was more of an attempt to try and I hate to use the term, but they were trying to counter-program what they were doing across an AEW, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but they were starting to lose a little bit of the identity that made NXT this fantastic, not just third brand, but solo brand all on its own. And I do really think they have done a good job of regaining interest, and this takeover was very, very well built up, which they always used to be. And they then delivered on these high promises. So, I think now with their big move to Tuesday, they are on a good path towards, continuing their trend of making great weekly programming.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm realising this intro could go on a little while, and we're kind of got so many matches to go through that I am going to drift on over to night one was where the Women's Championship match happened. Yes, night one. Io Shirai versus Raquel Gonzalez for the NXT Women's Championship. And one of the things I was applauding was it felt like NXT needed a kind of shift to a next generation. I was kind of getting a little bit bored of the current crop. I've obviously been there for so long. But now I felt like that new crop was desperately trying to smash through that ceiling. And this takeover seemed to massively address that. Folk have been built for the last year. Yes, they got unlucky with Karrion Kross, but still, there's that kind of pushing through the barrier. And Raquel Gonzalez has been built up over the past year. Mental to think she only debuted last February, which is re-debuted. Dakota Kaiser's Diesel. If that feels like a lifetime ago, but it was 1 year before everything went to crap. 1 year ago.
1 year when everything went to crap. The last takeover that had fans, I believe, TakeOver Portland. Yeah, she came out, joined Dakota. I'm trying to remember who Dakota faced in that street fight. I know what her name is, but she came out, she gave the assist and has continuously been built up since. And I think they've done a really good job, and she has improved so very, very much. And given her monster aura, I'm excited to see this reign of Raquel Gonzalez. I really am.
Yeah, it's a fantastic win as well. Like the match itself, Io Shirai, Raquel Gonzalez, the main event of night one, ruthless power versus speed and athleticism, and you had obviously the aspect of Dakota Kai, who caused one distraction early on and was immediately ejected. The referee just like, none of that, lass. Out she gets.
Yeah. No, not this time, Dakota. We know you like kicking people in the head, but I am no novice in the ring. I appreciated that because it's a bigger shine for Raquel. Like she got it done essentially all on her own. She, the distraction at the very beginning, I don't even think she fully took advantage of that after it happened. So it really showed that she could battle and win these fights on her own.
And like the NXT's women's division, like really does feel like it's risen to an all-time high, like once again with these two in there. Questions of Io moving up because she's obviously hit that point that happens in NXT normally around this point, and then they often stay for a few months more. It's one of those where you look at it and go, the main roster's maybe just finding its order again. I don't know if they want to pump in a load of NXT guys once more. But yeah, NXT women's division itself, absolutely stacked. And this was a fantastic example of it at its height. Io, speaking of heights, Io, crazy woman Io. Yeah, like before we got to the school, she was already like flying and controlling the match like a champion. But then we got to the massive school dive. She dives off like it's just crazy Io off the cage at War Games, off the house, like in your house or on your house, and here tonight off of the gigantic. Oh, what was the actually Dio pay-per-view? Deadly Games.
Yes. And it was a giant skull that she's jumping off of this time. And man, she hit Raquel, and you just heard the thud on those metal crates. And to me, that's just another day in Io Shirai's life. Like even when she's not competing on NXT, let's say she's going to a nearby pub to get some food. She's like, "How would you like for me to pay for this? Let me jump off your roof. How about that?" Because it just seems like she just likes flying off things, even when it's not necessary to do so. You have to earn that moniker, Genius of the Sky, and she certainly always does.
And in the final act of the match, the champion and the challenger both questioning each other's resilience, shouting at the referee, shouting at the opponent just to stay down. Shirai looking up to the heavens after Gonzalez kicked out of the moonsault. But it wasn't long after that where she herself found herself shouting at Io to stay down. The champion refusing to quit after a one-armed powerbomb at ringside completely took her out. And a clothesline out of hell. We got quite a few awesome clotheslines on these pay-per-views. Turned the champion inside out. And it was another one-on powerbomb, slamming Shirai down in the middle of the ring. Finally did it. And after over 300 days, we have a new NXT Women's Champion in this new era. She's been built up for an entire year. Feels strong as hell. But booked to the moons to feel like this awesome monster. And it's great to see her in this role as well. It's not like a Karrion Kross style of monster where it's just like, oh, this guy's a beast, how could he possibly stop him? With Gonzalez, it's been that climb, and it felt like more like a massive achievement and a celebration afterwards as well. We're just seeing the delight on her face, even though she's technically the big baddie. It didn't matter. They built her up really, really well.
And that's the thing about NXT is that you could shift perspective on people's, character allegiances or heel or face or even that tweener section so easily. And, this was the big kind of, again, she beat her completely on her own. Like Dakota was not there. I mean, this could lead to some dissension between them where I accomplished what you never could. So there's lots of great future showdowns for Raquel down the line. I can't wait to see her step in the ring with Candice. I hope Shotzi and Ember, while still being their tag team, they can get some singles matches with her. I agree with you. Like, I think this women's division is ready for this new phase, and you really needed someone of her caliber to bring down Io Shirai, because Io has just been such a staple and such a centerpiece of the division for so long.
Yeah, I think it's great that they have managed to build somebody to get to that point, and it feels so right that they have one as well. They haven't. They resisted hot-shotting the belt to anybody else, even though the opportunities presented themselves. They just had Io retain again and again and again. So when Gonzalez did it, it felt like this absolutely massive achievement. Yeah, all the applause in the world for it, and the match obviously kicked ass, which really helped.
It really did. You know what? And on a night, especially night one, on a night that really had a lot to live up to, because each match seemingly kept getting better and better. I thought it was a solid main event, maybe my second favorite match on the night of night one. But it definitely delivered for a main event spot of a takeover.
And night one as a whole as well, just from start to finish, was an absolute blast. Just to kind of give a little overview of that, I thought it was like it didn't let off. It was just one of those shows where from the first match with Pete Dunne Kushida all the way to the main event, it was just like bang, 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 just delivering on all fronts.
At all fronts and delivering in all different types of matchups. You know what I mean? I mean, Kushida and Dunne was, as much a technical masterpiece as it was a brawl. Walter and Ciampa certainly delivered on the ultra violence that I think all fans assumed is going to happen when you have a guy whose ring moniker is Psycho Killer and another guy whose ring moniker is the Ring General. I think those two complemented each other very well. And then you had a lot of great action in the tag team match. And then this final main event between Raquel and Io was just a great story, a great crowning achievement for Raquel. And truly just a fantastic overall end-to-end show to kickstart us into this next phase of NXT.
And speaking of next phases in NXT, I'm nailing these transitions today. Speaking of next phases, Karrion Kross defeating Finn Balor for the NXT Championship on night 2. A big fight feel as both lads stared each other down before the bell. The epic entrances, Finn Balor with a cross on his chest across his left pec, a reminder to both men why they dropped their titles in the past. It's like, I love it. I love it. And for me, this was Karrion Kross's best match in NXT so far.
Oh, absolutely. And that's not to say that he hasn't been doing good work, but his character is this big brooding monster that doesn't really, even against Keith Lee when he originally won the title, didn't really seem like he was fighting from behind at all. And it's like, man, it really takes someone as talented and as intelligent as Balor to really make it seem like not only he had a chance to win, but he took a good portion of the offense in this matchup. I mean, he really had Kross on his back. And, even at points where a submission was not completely out of the question, considering the damage that was done on the arm that he had to relinquish the belt in the first place. So I thought the storytelling in this contest was utterly fantastic, and I agree with you. Kross's best standout matchup, maybe ever, but certainly in NXT.
And I feel like that really helped sell it as well. Because with Keith Lee carrying Kross, it was one of those where it's like, the match didn't really get to me, but they hit all the beats. They got what they were going for. And it's like, it's a shame it's not hit those massive heights, but I can see where they're going. They continue the muscle build. I feel like this win did a lot more for Kross, given the quality of the match and the story they told within it as well. Long term, it's worked out for Kross incredibly well, and I cannot wait to see what they do with it.
I can't wait. Yeah. No, I can't wait to see what they do with him either. He's got a great look. That entrance will give me chills every single time, and I don't know if it will translate as well on the main roster. I hope it does. I'm not saying I'm anxious to see him move up, but he certainly has the look of a top guy. And I do think that he could potentially be one on the main roster if they decide to use him. But as of now, I'm going to enjoy this reign in NXT. And I think we got to give a lot of credit to Balor and maybe even label Balor as maybe one of the top 2, maybe even the top NXT champion of all time, because he was really doing some of his best work. Those dual matches with O'Reilly were fantastic. His last defense against Pete Dunne was one of my favorite matches of the year that I think will get overlooked because we get great matches on a weekly basis now. But truly, he was doing some really top level things in terms of psychology, in terms of action. And I'm excited to see, he said in an interview recently that he's like excited to go to NXT UK and finally give this Walter Balor showdown. So I'm assuming that's going to be what his next move is. I don't know if we see Balor back on Tuesday nights right away. I think he has this desire to continue this like great this great string of work that he's been doing since he moved back to NXT in 2019. So, and I think a showdown with Walter would certainly be something fans want to see.
Yeah, and that's quite an interesting point, actually. Yeah, I hadn't caught that at all. I was just into... I went to sleep last night. I was like, oh yeah, Cross, that'll be interesting. Didn't even pay a thought to Finn Balor. Sorry, Finn, you're my Irish heritage, but
you're my Irish heritage. Well, and I mean, it's to add on to what you said about how the win does so much for Cross. They even showed it in the stats prior to the match at the beginning. Balor has an impeccable takeover record. I believe he was maybe 13-1, the only loss coming to Samoa Joe at TakeOver the End in that cage match. But he had also never lost a title match at TakeOver, so it's like another hurdle that Kross accomplished. Not only did he beat a guy that's usually very, very good at these marquee events, but he had never lost a title match because he obviously dropped the title the first time to Samoa Joe in that infamous house show in Massachusetts, where they're like, I don't want to say that they spoiled that happening, but they were like, anything could happen at a house show. Are you listening? Anything could happen at a house show. So when it did happen, I was like, oh, you don't say. The one house show that they said they even wanted to televise, he lost the belt at. So yeah, I do. I think that's my prediction as what happens to Balor next. But who knows? I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean they don't bring him back up. It's interesting. It should be interesting. Post-Mania is always an interesting time because it's a nice reset for everything.
And in this match, the champion was really painted as smart and with a plan to anger Kross, get under his skin, but fair to say, purposefully making Kross angry was always a bit of a risk. It was a dangerous ploy, and it worked for most of the match. But in a sudden, Kross awoke into a zone of focused aggression. Balor quickly shifting to going for that big signature offense and a great run to the end of the match. Balor's kicks to the challenger's sternum created like a weak point for him to stretch with no escape at the end until Scarlett uttered some spooky spook and apped him up into an unstoppable state. Forearm after forearm. Oh my God, yeah. Finn was out completely and completely unable to protect himself against the suplexes and charging forearms to follow. But yeah, that spooky spook amping him up.
Oh my God, that reminded me of when Paul Bearer used to take the lid off the urn, and the yellow light or the white light would come out, and the spirit of the dead man would reawaken. When we got some real spooky dooky voodoo things going on. Yeah, she was certainly speaking in tongues. I also, I suspected that they were watching a show together on some streaming network, and she's like, "If you lose, I will watch without you," and that awoken the man. He's like that. Like, I will not only not lose this title match, but I refuse to let you watch our show without me. So that's probably what I assume she was doing with her enchantments, with her spells out there.
It always sounds scary when you don't know what they're saying.
Yes, absolutely loved it. I honestly thought they were going to call the match with the when Kross was in full guard and was nailing Balor with those unprotected elbow shots to the back of the head. Couldn't defend himself. I thought, what an interesting way for him to possibly have lost the title, like a very MMA-like ending. I'm happy they actually kept it going. It just showed Balor's resilience and Kross's brutality all in once. But that was the final sequences of this match were very, very, very entertaining, because I don't think we've ever seen Balor get defeated in that sort of way. He's been bested before. He's been beaten with a wrestling maneuver, but this was like a clear, dominant, no rematch necessary type of victory for Kross here.
I will also, before we move on to the next match, I will apologise for Joe's video jumping about all over the place. It's 100% my end as well. It's my fault. I'll say my fault. It's my laptop's fault. Bad laptop. Audio's fine though, so you should be able to hear him all perfectly good. Follow his points. You'll just get a lot of really funny screenshots. As he turns out. Yeah.
I look forward to them.
And the final match to talk about, that's on my lovely little Photoshop image to lovely, what's the word, thumbnail? Jesus Christ, man. So, the main event of night 2, the unsanctioned match between Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. I assumed when I went onto Twitter that this kind of match would get a mixed reception just because of the kind of match it was. And I was generally surprised to see mostly positive, with the only negative notes I saw with people saying, it was a bit long. And I was like, generally, it's like, oh, that's good to see, because there's normally a little bit of contention with these types of matches, but with this, there wasn't. It seems most people were into it. It was just a bit long. It's like, good job then. Good job, both guys. Mostly positive.
Very, very good job. I wouldn't say it was my favorite match of the two nights, but I think it delivered on everything that it promised. You know, it was brutal, it was violent. There was good elements of storytelling. It made O'Reilly really, really seem like a star, and the right man won, which is the main important thing, because, you know, in these type of feuds usually, and I don't necessarily know that it is over, but these type of feuds usually you get the heel takes the first one. If you're doing typical WWE booking, the heel takes the first one, and then there's 4 more matches, and then eventually when we get to that final moment where the babyface does get his big moment, sometimes there's some fatigue to it, and that's why I was happy that he was able to take it on this night, especially the type of match it was, especially with how beautiful the video package they had that built this up. You know, it really was exciting, and it made sense because they kept calling it the co-main event, and I just assumed that this was going to go on 4th and let Balor and Kross end. But in a way, this was almost better for this to end because it's unsanctioned, and if AEW's taught us something, it's like that match would technically go on last because it's not sanctioned. They did it before, too, with Gargano and Ciampa, where it headlined TakeOver Orleans, you know, over Black and Andrade. So, like, it made sense, and I think there could have been some, you know, if I'm being nitpicky, there could have been some things that were trimmed or some things that were sped up. But overall, this bout had one of those great clotheslines that you were talking about from the weekend. I mean, O'Reilly popped off those ropes and damn near killed Cole with a lariat that I swear to God gave me whiplash just watching it.
And you said it earlier as well. The promo video was absolutely fantastic. And that paired with the match starting with all the security, keeping them divided, the lights all the way down, and as soon as the bell rings, they just go straight into laying blows into each other. It's like they went all out to set the tone for this to be an all-time fight. And I just love the unique feel from everything about this. The entire match. They went out of their way to create that feeling, and it went through the entire match. These two beat the living crap out of each other. And in terms of covering it, it's one of those where it's like, I'm not going to go beat for beat, even though it did escalate really well. I split this match into 3 acts: chairs, chains, and chaos. And each one led into the other. I would say probably clothesline of the night might have technically been the one with the chain, where I think Adam Cole just kind of talked it up, and he kind of ran into it and got brought down.
Oh yes, that was a brilliant spot.
And the latter act, which I named Chaos, was just because Cole was using too many tools. Adam Cole resorting to a variety of weapons to swing at Kyle. The referee calling Adam's Song of the Concerto a note too far. So down went the referee, deservedly so, stopping Adam Cole.
Deservedly so, and it's sometimes you have to appreciate pro wrestling for its silliness, because like moments later, he hits the Panama Sunrise, goes for the count, and he's out of nowhere. Oh, what happened to the ref? And then calls the ref an idiot. You suck at your job, and it's like, buddy, you know that is your fault, but he doesn't know because he's seeing red and he's so overcome with anger. Again, you know, people might be able. That might be a spot where people will nitpick and be like, "Why do pro wrestlers do dumb things sometimes?" But that's the silliness of it that you have to lean into.
Oh yes, yeah, 100%. It fit the story they were telling so perfectly. It was the escalation point, because not long after that, you're going through the ramp, through the metal stage, which sounded a little bit painful. And again, the unique fight element about it. Normally, with a spot like that, you go straight to the ending afterwards. Not in this match. It was creating that. Oh, I don't want to compare it to The Last of Us, but the point in The Last of Us, it purposefully creates that feeling of when is enough enough. And I feel like this match did it a lot, like with Tommaso Ciampa versus Johnny Gargano from TakeOver last year, where they did the cinematic filming of it. I didn't like that at all. But here, they're going to create that same feeling of when is enough enough, when are you going to stop? And here they nailed it. I feel like the stage spot was so much more effective than what they did with Gargano Ciampa. And they did the stage spot, and then Adam Cole kicks through the side of the ramp just to get to Kyle O'Reilly and beat him up even more. So that was done so well. And then to go to the ending where Adam Cole is just going for something absolutely drastic. Kyle fights back. Adam Cole gets low blows. Down he falls, prone onto the chairs. And Kyle O'Reilly wraps his leg in that chain, jumps and crashes his leg onto Adam Cole, whose head then goes between the chains on his knees and the chairs that he's thrown across and just completely has him out. And just an absolute perfect final beat as well, where Cole is the one getting the stretcher. He's the one being attended to. Neck brace and all as the emergency officials took care of him. And O'Reilly is the one who gets the final shot of the night, looking down the ramp, all huffy and puffy and I've done a bad type of thing.
And he's got massive bruises on his back, like he has gone through a war. I agree. It was one of my you always got to watch it take over till the very end because you never know exactly what's going to happen. And I thought this was like a fitting, very hero's journey type ending where like he knows what he just did. Like he knows, despite the fact that he did get his revenge, that was someone that he was very close to. So it did hit on some nice emotional tones too, where he was like he got pushed to a level where his, former friend is now being stretchered out the same way he was. So I appreciated the parallel, and I do think it was and I understand, again, that's probably why they wanted to end the show on that, because although the Kross Balor match has the world title at stakes, I think this just ends the show on like a lighter tone, not a lighter tone, but maybe just not the big baddie holding the belt plus that's the way night one ended. We had Raquel holding the belt on night one. This is a different thing. So again, in terms of layering or structuring the match setup, I thought they nailed it.
Yeah, and it builds Kyle up as an awesome star after taking out Adam Cole as well. It's another one those where you go, where do we go next? But you've fantastically set up the next generation of NXT of what's going to come next. You made some stars. It's what we've been wanting the main roster to do. You made your stars. You can go and do it.
You can go and do it. Yeah, you just got to know. You just got to do it right, and you just got to do it smart.
Also, I was nodding in agreement as you were talking, and that's when I felt the British tiredness. I was like, oh, my head's heavy. Yep. Right, so I'm actually really impressed. We've got through those three things in about 20 minutes. Well done us. We're on track. We've got about 20 more to go. We can do this. We're all right. All right, I've not got any lights on. It's all natural light, so hopefully we can get this done before it all goes. That's our timer.
That's our time. Yeah, well, that's our crunch time.
So we'll now go through both nights in order. Night one first, then night two. We'll start off with night one, and Nia Strauss guitar soloing to Triple H's America. Fantastic staging as well. As for the first time we got to see this scimitars akimbo with a big old skull glaring at you. I thought it was a fantastic staging. NXT has really brought that element in this era, where they've just brought different staging back, and it does so much for each little special to make it feel different. Just having a different staging, just having a big old skull there, just makes everything feel so much more different. Again, compared to the main roster. I know we can't really complain about main roster staging this week because it's WrestleMania. They got a big old pirate ship, but normally it's just the same staging and stuff. And the different sets bring so much kind of variety to the shows. I feel like that's really needed for certain shows, like Money in the Bank. They just have a pile of ladders, that'll do. But I liked it when they were in giant towers. It was over the top.
Exactly. No, it's like sometimes they're so uninspired by their work. It's like Extreme Rules. I got it. Let's put up a giant X because it's extreme. And I'm like, you lazy sacks of shit. And the thing that, especially the TakeOver TV specials like Great American Bash, Halloween Havoc, In Your House, they literally built the old In Your House set. Like, I agree. It adds such a level of character to it. And it makes, it gives you a different type of flavor for what each of these shows is going to be. And this one was very unique too. That looming skull in the background, it could be reminiscent of Kross's Doomsday or, the impending rivalry between O'Reilly and Cole. There, you could take a lot of, it could be symbolism for a lot of things, but I really, really dug the setup. I also dug, I don't mean to jump around, but I dug the performance by Poppy in night two. I thought that was a great way to kickstart what was, again, following a fantastic night one, which night 2 pretty much was also an excellent show, but I still think night 1 takes the cake. But Poppy really drove that energy back up for me to get me excited about this second night.
Yeah, because in the build-up to this show, I was like, why is it called Stand and Deliver? It's kind of the pairing to a pirate show. It's like, why on earth is it called this? And obviously, like every single time I said it, I was like, Stand and Deliver, I'm yours, because it's the Stevie Wonder lyric comes into my head. I was like, there's that, and there's Adam and the Ant with the Highwayman, and then Poppy comes out and does a cover of the Highwayman. And it's like, I mean,
there it is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it all kind of clicks together, and it's like genuinely that. Yeah, wasn't expecting that cover. And it was generally a fantastic way to open the show, and I'm not questioning why it's called Stand and Deliver anymore, even though I still don't get the pirate link. It doesn't make any sense. The Highwaymen weren't pirates.
Right. I feel like that's just a reminder that it's WrestleMania week, because I mean, they literally have the same exact, it's the symbol for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers where WrestleMania is being held at Raymond James. And I thought it was unnecessary too, but I was like, in my mind, I get it. That might have been a call from upper management to be like, place the symbol there and, remind people that your show is good, but WrestleMania is what's important. That assuming, I mean, that could have been a call from Hunter too, just to add some aesthetic to the feel. Was it necessary? Not really. I thought their own skull kind of did the story for them.
Yeah, both shows opened fantastically. Also, before we get into the show itself, like the adjustments to the fan arrangement as well, also made like such a difference to the atmosphere. Like, yes, they still played the fake crowd noise, but the higher number of fans really helped balance that out for me. You could still tell when they piped in the chant or when they wanted a certain reaction, as in the crowd popped for something, but they had the boos put in. It's like, it's a little bit jarring sometimes. And I saw quite a few comments on Twitter as well. Just think of, do you even need the live crowd, the fake crowd noise now that you've got people there generating noise and they're allowed for it?
You got enough people. I mean, that's the one thing where, I'm on the AEW Dynamite beat for work. Like, I need to watch that show for the site. I also chose that show just for a reason, just because it was something new and I was excited for something new. And since they have been slowly bringing fans back at Daly's Place, they haven't had to rely on the wrestlers they're not using to create the crowd atmosphere. And it just gives that element of realism back to it, because we don't have to be forced to be like, oh, you like the spot or not. Like, the pro wrestling fans are there. They know what they like. And it just makes it feel like kind of regular a little bit again. And I agree with you. The addition of their fans in this one, even those extra little bit, made such a difference. But you can tell there's a spot in the Kushida-Dunn match where they're doing the back and forth strike exchange, and Dunn hits his signature big forearm, where everyone in the crowd pops, but you hear the boos chimed in. And I was like, well, that's a little, that's a little inconsistent. They probably should have read that, considering like it was in one of the climactic points of the matchup where they're getting ready to do one of their final back and forth exchanges. Didn't take me out of it in any way, but like it was one of the times where I stopped focusing on the match and I noticed, they're piping in boos here.
I think that the only time it properly came to my attention really in terms of what are you doing here was in the Adam Cole Kyle O'Reilly match, where I was writing notes, so I thought it was the audience until I went on Twitter. I was like, oh, did they pipe that in where it was the "We Want Tables" chant? And I was writing notes. I wasn't looking at the screen at that time. I was like, oh, it's good that the chants are back. I don't need to like all the chants, but it's good to have chants back. And then apparently
it's good to have chants back, yeah.
Yeah, but apparently they piped in the "We Want Tables" chants. Like, what are you doing, guys? I don't get. Yes, that was a thing, but this one doesn't need to come back. It's all right.
Yeah. It's like, who pressed record on a "We Want Tables" chant? Like, I don't understand. Like, just start putting in audio from Goodfellas or Game of Thrones. Like, who cares at that point if you're going to start doing "We Want Table" chants? Like, a little unnecessary.
It's one of those chants that I used to be fine with, and then I think for me the turning point was it was Mustafa Ali and Buddy Murphy having an absolutely amazing main event on 205 Live, and the crowd don't really care about 205 anyway, and then they just start chanting "We Want Tables," but they're doing so many awesome spots with the other things. Do you specifically need that one thing? It's like, that's when I turned. It was like, I don't need this chant anymore.
I don't need this chant anymore. It's also was always very silly, not to get sidetracked, but why they never just put 205 Live on prior to SmackDown was just baffling to me. Because when you have a casual fan paying tickets and they want to see WWE, then you're technically ending. When I would go to a SmackDown, they would do SmackDown, then they would do 205, and then they would do a dark main event because they're not ending the show with 205. So if you're not ending the show with 205, don't give me the fucking dark main event. That doesn't count anyway. Put 205 Live on first, so you have a hot crowd at the beginning, or at least a not tired crowd. And then by the end of SmackDown, you're where you need to be because they're there for those people anyway. And I remember that Murphy and Ali match. I remember watching it thinking, like, this is fantastic, and they just do not have the crowd for it. And then they add in those "We Want Table" chants. And I was like, cool, you don't appreciate this guy, doing Spanish flies off the top of stairs on top of top ropes. But yeah, a table will make this that much better. Like, you utter sheep.
WWE, it's really interesting watching the discourse with we're definitely sidetracked. The discourse between like AEW and the WWE stuff that you see on social media, especially when you see a thing of, no, that's just a WWE trope, and because they've been the only show in town, that's what a load of people think wrestling is. It was like, I mean, it totally makes sense. If that is the only wrestling, you wouldn't have no other kind of reference point. But I always find that interesting. It's like, if you do, like the AEW has too many stables comment. I can't remember who started that. It was
right. Well, yeah. I mean, again, that's a WWE thing where they try and teach you, not a WWE thing. I think that's a thing, like you said, that fans just assume is wrong because WWE, there's so many lone wolves, like, Brock Lesnar is a lone wolf. It's like, is it so bizarre to think that people have friends? Like, does that blow anyone's mind? Like even in the Gargano match, I saw some people that were like, for the way, people are like, I don't really like the way, and I was like, yeah, it's crazy that a husband and wife would be in a stable together. Mind blowing. Utterly mind blowing. Like, wow. Like this, we're really like breaking the limits of storytelling here. I was like, there's no correct way to do anything in any form of art anyway, because then people are, if you watch a Christopher Nolan movie and then you watch a Quentin Tarantino movie or even a Catherine Bigelow movie, which does things in a completely different medium of film, you can't say, well, they did it wrong because my boy C. Nolan over here, is the only one that knows how to shoot on IMAX. It's like, that's not the way things work.
Yeah.
So, too many stables. I'm sorry that people have friends. I really am.
Complaining that the dialogue is so clear in Tarantino after watching Christopher Nolan. But anyway, yeah, so Pete Dunne, Kushida will do it. We'll finally trigger back 5-10 minutes of ramblings on other things. So Pete Dunne and Kushida. So two lads who love a bit of arm, or you're giving them arm, or they'll take the arm, or they'll happily take that arm. They love arms. Those two. Pete Dunne also put out a funny tweet. He was put out a tweet about people are learning of like all the hand stomps that took place over TakeOver.
Oh yeah, or all the leg sweeps, or the way he counters certain maneuvers, or there really was a lot of Pete Dunne layered in the show, because a lot of working of the arms, a lot of going after the hands and the fingers and the joint manipulation, and I think Pete is probably quite happy about that, and probably also displeased because he's like, mate, why you taking my moves? Why you taking my psychology? But I mean, that was, I really loved the way it played into this Kushida match though, because it led to the finish, and some people called this ending abrupt to Kushida and Dunne, but it really played out very. I thought it was fine. I mean, it played out. I mean, he was targeting the hand. Kushida goes for his big haymaker, connects with it, but his hand is so damaged that he drops. Allows Dunne to hit a nice roundhouse to the head. Bitter end, boom. I mean, I think that's a fantastic way of, something paying off in a matchup. And these two just really upped their, the technical prowess in this match, and the chain wrestling into then the brawling. Like, I don't think this was just a technical matchup. I think this was also like a straight up good fight, which really enjoyed. And Kushida, we talk about Kross having great matches. Kushida, I think, is finally finding his niche and his footing in NXT, because he seemed to kind of just be there since he got signed by New Japan. And now he is, this is 2 takeovers in a row where he might have had the best match had there not been, matchups that were also like highly billed. Like if this wasn't on the same show as Walter and Ciampa, I mean, man, this was really, really great. Really, really great.
Yeah, like unsurprisingly, a white-hot opener between the Japanese Junior and the Brummy Bruiser, like attempting to like outwear the other with the damage paying off in the end. Where after all of that arm work and all that focus, Kushida was unable to capitalise following his straight punch. Oh, he punched him with the worked hand. Oh, no. Thanks to Dunn snapping his fingers earlier. Dunn using that opportunity to strike the man in the head and follow up with the bitter end for the win. So, yeah, it was all of that work, then had a cause and effect. But yeah, damn solid opener. Yeah, I think that's kind of what it was as well. It was a solid opener. This isn't going to steal the show. You've got the Slapfest coming. Don't worry.
Right. You're gonna have Slapomania is in sight, and we are very excited for it.
So after that, we got the number one contenders gauntlet eliminator. The winner facing Gargano for the North American Championship on night 2. Leon Ruff versus Isaiah Swerve Scott versus Bronson Reed versus Dexter Lumis, Cameron Grimes, and LA Knight. Nearly forgot the names because I forgot to write them down.
You got them all. Every time I hear that LA Knight, I just think, man, if there's one person that needs to be fired at that company, it is the person that comes up with these names because I greatly, greatly dislike this name. He sounds like he's trying to be the LA expansion soccer team, or the hockey team that's in Vegas, or the hockey team that's in Los Angeles. I just really don't like it. I don't know what they lose by letting this man keep his name. I don't care if he made his name famous in NWA and Impact. Let him keep his name, because LA Knight is not fun. Okay, you are not a comic book villain in a B story in Thor Ragnarok. You are. This guy was a former world champion in Impact. This guy was a very big star when NWA Power came on. And yes, they're still encapsulating all the things that he does well. Great talker and decent in-ring. But I hate this name. I hated this name. And since they gave him that name, anytime he loses, I am not unhappy, because no one named LA Knight should be doing anything.
Yeah, I feel like it's that paired with the fact his name on the Titantron is written in the SmackDown Live fonts, like the blue and the white and everything.
They couldn't even get him his own font. They're so lazy.
The match itself, though, was an entertaining follow-up.
Very entertaining. Yeah. Very entertaining. I agree. Yes.
Yeah, kudos.
And again, the right man won.
Oh, yeah, 100%. The right man won. Kudos to Swerve in particular. I've got to shout out Swerve, a friend of the show, Rich Latter, who producer for Swerve's music. I've got to give the shout out there. Yeah, Swerve killed it in this match. He was absolutely fantastic. He and Ruff continued their ringside brawl from last week to lead into the ad break as we started the match, and Swerve went all the way to the end, like the linchpin of the match. He was the key where everything else revolved around and then built around as well. Absolutely fantastic showing. The best he's looked in NXT as well. I've said that a lot for this takeover review, but I feel like it's the case again. Swerve felt the best that he has felt so far. When we returned from the break, we got the spinning rebound cutter off the announce table. They were still brawling around ringside, like they opened up to in magic fashion. And then the different entrants came in, and each time making it just gives a different element to completely swing how the match was going. So Bronson Reed, a thick boy season chance. I was like, that's good to hear that again. Running strong as he powered both lads all over the ring. And the big spot at the end of that sequence of him suplexing both Ruff and Swerve, sending them flying across the ring. Then we've got Cameron Grimes with our first big example of the kind of fake crowd noise. Big Money Grimes. Cameron Grimes. He got a big old pop from that live crowd, but then they piped in, look, boo, he's the heels. How did they not realize this? He is over. Big Money Grimes. It hasn't worked.
Oh my gosh! All I want is for them to give him tell WWE Studios to give this man a movie about how Big Money Grimes turned a thing, like a mockumentary of his success, based on all of those stock picks that he made with GameStop and all of that. I love it. I absolutely love this guy. I love that he tries to pay Swerve to be on his side, because it doesn't matter. He's got endless funds. They're coming in nonstop. I noticed those boos on that one as well. I was like, you gotta let the people cheer this man.
Yeah, give the people what they want. Give them Big Money Grimes. And I was talking with James Boyd, reviewing one of the NXTs there from One Nation Radio. And the angle we can't wait to see is when it all comes crashing down.
Oh yes! I can't wait. He's gonna put all of his money on the next stock, and it is going to tank. And I cannot listen. I wish no one financial turmoil during these turbulent times of the world, except for Cameron Grimes. I want to see him lose everything.
Just to see it, yeah. The Hulk Hogan entrance lyrics. It comes crashing down, and it'll hurt. It'll hurt him so much inside. It'll be a completely broken character, and it'll be a glorious arc. It's the only ending you can give. It's absolutely perfect.
Only ending you can give.
After that, we got Dexter Lumis entering, all slow and creepy and the like. And as he's entering, we missed Ruff getting caved in, so Swerve can then steal the pin and eliminate his foe. Got the gist of what happened. Dexter Lumis then hossed everybody around like a match favourite entering the fray. A nasty tumble to the outside as he and Grimes both went over, and Lewis's leg caught pretty awkwardly in the ropes for a nasty little talk to it as he fell down to the outside. I think he was mostly fine, but we'll see with NXT. They've not released any injury reports, but they're mostly kayfabe anyway, so don't really tell you that much. Like, Io Shirai hurt her knee. No shit. No shit.
Yeah. I hurt my knee watching Io Shirai, so that makes sense.
LA Knight entered last. L.A. Knight. You have to say it like he says it. Entered last, talking trash on the mic on each of the opponents. I did like that, because he's all talk and then he just gets beaten. That's kind of part of it. I do like... the man was in the best position, however, quite possibly a tad too much overconfident. Just a little bit. Shout out to him finally getting to hit that big pop-up into the superplex as well. He's jumped up against multiple opponents, and this was the first time in NXT he's actually been able to hit it. That's one of his moves that generally looks great. So good for you, LA Knight. And
and it's a very agile and athletic move to get that hop. They actually, earlier that night in Dynamite, Max Caster took on Hangman Page, and Caster tried to do that very same spot, and he's a much younger, more limber guy, and he couldn't do it. So it was cool to see someone that's like, it's one of their staple maneuvers, and he nailed it here. I thought he did look really good in the matchup, especially coming in last, and I think anytime a guy comes in last in the gauntlet, I didn't assume in any way that he had any type of advantage. I thought it was going to be Swerve or Reed, and that's who it ended up coming down to. But, I do think, despite all of my discrepancies with the name, I do think he looked good.
And the biggest pop of the match came for Dexter Lumis getting eliminated. And again, the fake crowd noise. It was a pop from the crowd of, he's gone. This match has opened up. But the piped in crowd noise, the face has gone. Boo. That's not how crowds react. Choking out Grimes. So choking out as Grimes as the live crowd entered the field. You can't eliminate Grimes. But LA Knight took advantage and rolled the man up for a 3. I thought I showed him as being quite a smart competitor. And that's what I like about LA Knight so far with his character in NXT. He's taught the talk. He's shown he can be smart. But then he gets overconfident, does something stupid. So there is a running theme to it, so I do like that. And yeah, a little pop from the crowd that was like turned down for a bit for the boos, but suddenly that did make the match feel a lot more open. Because for me, Dexter Lumis was the one kind of favourite to win, who, as soon as he goes, everything can open up. Because there'll be so many other people now. LA Knight then got caught by Bronson Reed. He got to eliminate the next favourite, given he entered in last. Once again, the final note, Bronson Reed getting that on top of LA Knight to enter our last 3 remaining competitors, as the Big Aussie was having to fend off 2 athletic, inventively cheeky heels in Swerve and Big Money Grimes, which led to a fantastic run of offense between the 3 of them. Versus the third man was immediately there to kick you. You can't really do anything. With a little surprise in Swerve winning a series of roll-ups to eliminate Grimes. And he'd done a good job when they managed to eliminate Grimes and the crowd didn't turn on the match. It's like, you've done it so well. Grimes isn't in the final 2 and no one's complaining. Reed and Scott, the final 2, and Swerve has never looked better in this heel role. It's great to see. A big, mighty slam to the apron to seal how seriously he should be taken now. Reed had other ideas, however. Big house call after house call, and the Big Aussie just kept kicking out, not staying down. And suddenly he hits a massive beach break and follows up with a tsunami. The colossal Bronson Reed wins and advances to night 2 to face Gargano. And that run of action in the end, I thought was absolutely fantastic. Reed looked amazing in it. Swerve looked amazing in it. Grimes got caught. It's like, it was all done extremely well.
Extremely well. It was a very whoever with the booker and the producer of the matchup was should really be applauded, because I think they nailed all the nuances that not only got us the winner of the match, but is going to set up future storylines. So I look forward to seeing again this next phase. We're building up guys. I think Grimes is one of those guys that could be this next wave of top NXT guys.
And we finally made it. We've done it. We're at the NXT UK Championship. We're at the tasty one. Here we go. Walter versus Tommaso Ciampa. So I've made a little few bullet point notes for this one.
Okay.
Oof. Oh, this match slaps. Ciampa, you madman. Jesus, what a clothesline. And there are my notes for this match. That was fantastic. Hustle, I'm coming for you. With your notes.
Oh, boy. Has there been a wrestler in the last several years that has put together more high stakes, utterly entertaining matchups than Walter, and each one just being so vividly different than the other? I mean, I absolutely adore this man. I want him to slap me in the face, and I'll let him do it. He is my ring general. He is the one that should be taking us into this next phase. And the fact that his matchups never end the same way. I don't even think you could. I don't think he has got signature maneuvers. Does he have a finishing maneuver? No, because everything he does hurts. Anything and everything he does can finish you. Especially the way this one ended. Big old chop. Done. Absolutely loved it. I mean, end to end, the ring action on this one was great. You know, we got the commentary, especially Vic Joseph, kept pushing over. This is the 2018 Ciampa. You know, this is that guy that was willing to do whatever it took to win inside an NXT ring. They kept pushing that. And I think that adds to the story, too, because although he has, shaved away the old gray granddaddy hair and has got the nice chrome bald head again, as much as he wants to be, he's not that Ciampa anymore. He is different. He has been changed. He's gone through a lot, specifically physically, with the injuries that he suffered. And I think all of this gets told in this story. It's like on top of all the brutality and the violence, he is fighting for something. He is fighting to prove that he can belong in the ring with the very best. And even with all of that, he still can't get the job done. The day that Walter gets pinned, aside from that Survivor Series incident, which, we have forgotten about, it is going to be a great day. It's really going to be a great shining moment for whoever pinned his arms to the mat.
It's fair to say that the tone was set for this one from the early game, where Walter going to chop Ciampa at ringside, misses, but he goes to chop him so hard that his hand slices the announced desk takeover sign in half. Saw the cracking it in the following matchups whenever they went to the commentary. It's it was... And their idea for an ad break as well was Ciampa charging with clotheslines the entire time. I feel sorry for those people who were watching it on the actual TV channel itself, NBC, that's it. No, USA, there we go, got it eventually.
USA, yeah. I
NBC,
watched on Peacock with no commercial breaks, but if it was during commercial where Ciampa hit, at least must have been 12 or 13 clotheslines back to back. Man, I mean, if that was in a full stadium, or if that was in with a typical 25,000 hot NXT crowd, they would have been going ballistic. I know, because I was going ballistic, because after 5, I was like, geez, he's still going. My God, he's still going. My God, get this man some Gatorade. Those were my notes. It was just Jesus, Ciampa, take a breath.
Because I know on the WWE Network stream, because I still got it, I'm European, the screen went black when it went to ad breaks, and then it would kind of fade back in for the main show, and it faded, and Ciampa was just running with those charging clotheslines, and I'm just he's been going for 2 minutes. Is he going for the entire ad break? It wouldn't surprise me. And but that it did then play into the story they were telling, where Ciampa throws all of this crap at Walter, and then Walter just one hit dead, just down. And obviously Ciampa went crazier and crazier with that, to the height of hitting an air raid crash off of the top. He kept elevating it, and then just wallop down he goes from Walter. So I love that. I love that pattern. that's a pattern that's in all of Walter's matches, where these opponents try and bring so much to take him down, and then he just caves them in with a slap to the chest. Dead.
Slap to the chest, big boot to the face. That's the thing. He doesn't need to do a lot because all of the things that he do are important and make sense to him. I mean, I've seen matches where he's thrown 10 to 15 big boots to the face, and it never gets boring. I'm never like, oh, repetitive, same move. Like, it doesn't feel that way. It feels like it makes sense in terms of a physical fight.
Oh yeah, and Ciampa, to give him credit, 3 power bombs he still kicks out, and Walter, with no nonsense in the disbelief, he's not doing a Johnny Gargano, oh, the referee, no, immediately picks the guy up. Walter hitting an incredible sleeper suplex onto Maslow, turning him inside out, before just a big old simple chop to the chest. Down he goes and gets the win. The historic reign continues. This was by far my favourite match from the 2 nights. It was amazing, it was fantastic. Walter continues to bring it. Like, every one of his... Because he, during lockdown, he had his match with... What's his face?
Ilya Dragunov.
That was it,
yes. Another match that, honestly, the lack of crowd worked for them because every 2 seconds you hear a slap that's the hardest thing you've ever heard. I mean, that match ended and, like, the big Russian was just bleeding red while the big Austrian was just like I was like, he's tanner than he normally is. And he's like, oh, he's not tan. He is bruised. He is swole. He is, to say that match slapped would be both a compliment and also an actual description of what the match was because it was just slaps. I agree. This was also my favorite match of the 2 nights and delivered on all the violence that was promised.
Absolutely fantastic match. Walter continues to be, whenever he has these big matches, they are standout moments, and you can see his reign going on for quite some time just because of that element that he brings. And he has expressed that he doesn't particularly want to move to America full time and like tour WWE or anything. So it could be there for quite some time, like a genuinely long run.
Let him hold that belt for 5 years. I am not unhappy with it. I really am not.
And after this, we got again. Joey talked about the variety in the show earlier, but this really comes in to say that the match that followed this was the tag team triple threat for the NXT Tag Team Championships. Fast-paced tag team frenzy of Fancy Fanatics and Fantasma. I got my F's in. So, MSK versus Legado del Fantasma versus the grizzled young veterans. And MSK trying to steal the match, but Del Fantasma was showing they're the daredevils themselves. And then you've got the brain smarts of the grizzled young veterans capitalising on all the chaos that was happening. It's just a fantastic little pairing here. I love that with Legado del Fantasma coming up with their own Daredevil stuff as well. That, for me, that really elevated it as well, because MSK, we know what they're like, but wasn't expecting double coast to coasts. That was a nice little surprise.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The action in this thing was unmatched, truly. I mean, between the tandem offense, between the fire ups, each team really getting their shine. The way they had it. The way they did, especially even during the entrances, I thought the team that got the most shine was grizzled young vets. And for a while there, I was like, I think they're finally going to overcome their hurdle and become champions. Again, the right team won, though. Like, I think the booking on the 2 nights was just as important as the in-ring action and the storytelling, because they are leaning into, as you said at the very beginning, this next phase of NXT, and MGK is hot. Like, they already won the tag team tournament. They already had, NXT did this weird thing with the women's tag team titles that, we can get into when we talk about that match on night 2. But this one, they stood their ground, they focused, and they delivered. I thought Mendoza and Wilde really, really looked great. For this being their first takeover, I think they really stood there, and I look forward to seeing them, challenge MGK just in a one-on-one tag match later down the line.
And the triple threat nature giving no downtime at all, as this match quickly escalated, but constantly elevated. Hunter's favourite tag team spot reared its head once again as grizzled young veterans launched an unrelenting attack on Wesley's arm to set up the Shankly Gates, for Nash Carter to make it just in time and grab the partner's arm before stopping from tapping. And a fantastic stare down to kick off the final act 2 was Grizzled Young Veterans and MSK each taking out a member of Legado del Fantasma and staring down into a wee scrap with the passionate Liverpool fans. MSK winning out and nailing that. I call it the assisted whisper neck breaker because I don't know what. Blockbuster. Don't know what to call it. Got the win.
Got the win. Yeah, I could have gone without that submission spot because realistically, if someone's putting me in a submission and I go to tap, and the imp comes in and he stops my hand, he's like, "No, Joe, don't do that." I'll be like, "Fuck you, my arm hurts, man." Like I will verbally submit. Like, I don't know what you holding my hand is like. Oh, you're right. I shouldn't care about my shoulder torque. I think that's just a thing that's become some type of trope that has not become my favorite. Overall, very, very happy for MSK. I'm very, very excited to see them. I'm excited for the eventual Lorcan and Birch, coming back to reclaim the titles that they never officially lost. So that's a future matchup down the line. I'm excited to see. Just great stuff. Great stuff.
Yeah, and I'm now waiting for an indie promotion to do that spot and then just have the guy just scream at him like, "No, F you, my arm hurts, I submit."
My arm hurts, damn you, why are you doing this to me? We were supposed to be rascals. We were somewhere. I know who's the one that's still an Impact. I think Trey is watching and being like, "Man, NXT changed them. What happened to Band of Brothers? Rent it sometime." Jeez.
I will say I was a bit worried, I guess, about MSK in NXT because of the kind of fact that they are. But they've been handled perfectly since their arrival. And even their promos, yes, it's still the scripted WWE style of promos, but it fits them perfectly fine. They're doing all right. Obviously, you see what happened to Riddle on the main roster, and who knows what they'll do with them. Who knows? Hopefully they don't have animals flying out of their feet. We'll see. But that's the bar.
I've blacked out and forgotten what we were talking about because just thinking about what's going on with Riddle just baffles me to a point where I sometimes question why I wake up every day and do this. But so there, I'm going to contradict something I said earlier. There is a level of silliness to this thing. There's also a level of silliness that just makes me not want to care. But you know what? That's we're talking. I don't want to distract myself with things that I hate. Let's stay on TakeOver.
Yeah, positiveness.
Yeah. Positiveness, yes.
Yeah, I saved that for my Raw reviews. That the pain oozing from me in those reviews. Notice that happy. This is a good time.
You are a stronger man than I. I've actually enjoyed the WWE product much more because I stopped watching their weekly television and would just read recaps and watch the big shows. Something that I recommend. That's everyone's own journey to go on to.
So night 2 kicked off with Poppy and Adam the Ant. Adam the Ant, let's go with it. We then followed on into a ladder match for the NXT Cruiserweight Championship unification to crown the undisputed NXT Cruiserweight Champion. Santos Escobar versus Jordan Devlin, and the Army Hearties climb the ladder and achieve your gold. I'm English, I had to do the voice. Plenty.
It was fantastic.
Plenty of painful looking backdrops onto ladders in this match. Moonsaulting Devlin with plenty of moonsaults. Escalating with the match as well. Starting with a standing moonsault, then springboard to the outside, before the crazy bastard flew backwards off the tippy top of a ladder. You crazy man. Wild and Mendoza, but also I can never remember their names. Whenever it comes to them, it's like, is it... Oh no, it's not Joaquin Phoenix. Oh, it's Joaquin... I just get stuck for ages. Is it Joaquin Phoenix and Raul Martinez? No. Pretty certain that's a football.
Close enough.
Wild and Mendoza saving the day for their man, but the assault wasn't enough to keep the Irishman down. Hardly did anything, really. In the end, the man paid for it with a painful final spot, crashing off one ladder and into another one propped in the corner. Devlin's arm bleeding as Escobar pulled down both titles to become the undisputed Cruiserweight Champion. And I was expecting this match to kind of keep escalating. But I feel like it's kind of like the opener from the first night where it was never really going to break a certain bar and it hit opener levels and it didn't really go past that. And I saw some people on Twitter be like, "Oh, it was fine. It was nothing special." I was like, "Oh, I mean, it hit what it needed to." I don't feel too down on it.
No, I don't feel too down on it either. I thought it was a great opener. I thought they did a lot of high spots. I was a little taken out of the match after the Mendoza Wild interference because, they interfered and you said it didn't really seem like they did much, and that was the issue. Like, they push him off the ladder. I mean, he hits the ground and he hits it hard. Like, it is not the nice soft landing that I think they could have had, but if anything, it added to make it seem very violent. Then they toss him to the stairs. Then they immediately leave, and he just pops up and throws the ladder at Santos. It was that was not my favorite. And it's definitely overly nitpicking because overall I thought the match did what it was supposed to do. Which was end this division of who is the true cruiserweight champion. Like, we now know it is Santos Escobar, but I don't think that I think that the better story to tell was that he did it on his own. You have no interference from Legado del Fantasma, and then down the line again, there could be, if they decide to go there, that dissension of I got the job done. Where are your guys' titles from night one? Like, you guys did not get the job done. He could kind of play. If they're La Familia, he could certainly play their head of the table in the sense of, I am excelling our group. Well, you guys are not. You guys are holding it back. And then again, that's nitpicking because did it detract from my overall enjoyment of the match? No. But I just thought it was a strange sequence of they push this guy off a 15-foot ladder. He crashes directly to the outside. Then they send him into the barricade or the steps, one of the two. And then they start climbing up, and he doesn't just run up and stop him. He runs and he throws this ladder. Like, where did you muster the energy, you Irish devil, you? So that was. But overall, I wouldn't say that this match was just there. I think salts, and the one from the top, from the very tippy top, was chef's kiss, pristine. And I love the match ending with Santos just giving a big ass headbutt and sending this man flying through the ladder. So, good job, lads. I think they opened this show very strongly as well.
Oh yeah, a really, really strong opener. And then we went to the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions, Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon versus Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. The Way amps in their Marvel getup. The champions, it said on their title card, it literally said "fiery and ballsy" as they fired a ball out of their tank. Literally there. It wasn't an addition that I truly got behind. Shotzi. So again, like, takeaway point for this match, really. Shotzi taking caution to the wind as normal. A nasty crash landing after a suicide dive, but thankfully all right. Like, it's not a Shotzi match if you're not going, oh god, are you right? After something.
Yeah, Shotzi is becoming like the Rey Fenix of NXT, where it's like it's not a Shotzi Blackheart match unless she lands right on her head. I mean, it was almost impressive that she did a suicide dive and it split the competitors. So really, even the commentators was like, or Stu Bennett, whose voice really is a pristine addition to the commentary desk. Just so much grit and just like, I don't know. I think she took the worst of that. And I was like, you think she's got some? If you've got bad news, you better let her know that her head is just completely caved in. But she seemed to be okay. That Shotzi, she's like a cat. She lands on her feet every time.
Yeah, she reminds me a bit of. I'm getting a bit nerdy, but I'm not nerdy enough to remember the Japanese wrestler's name. But there was I want to say the early noughties, there was a female Japanese wrestler where her offense was it was because she was essentially going to attack her opponents, and you got that feeling when you watched her that it wasn't clean. Her landings were often quite rough and dangerous looking, and you weren't really sure she was going to be fine after each dive. But it ended up, it was a bit of authenticity to it as well. It meant that her offense felt unique just because her main point was to dive at her opponents. So it's not going to be clean. She is going to be on the ropes a bit wobbly and fall at a weird angle because her main thing is, I'm going to hurt you. She's not really caring if like her foot hits a rope or something. And Shotzi reminds me a bit of that. Where it's not clean. She is generally diving at her opponents. It's not a look at this nice little fly. It's not like that. Yeah. Personally, I like that, but obviously it's maybe not great for longevity. That was the Sasha Banks thing, where she was contorting at insane angles after dives. It's like, we're not going to continue that long if you're doing that every night.
I know, especially Sasha, who's always like, I'm the future, give me my money, like, I'm going to be in the Hall of Fame next year. And I was like, I think we're, kind of joking about the possibility that you are going to wrestle a shorter career if you continue doing these things. But you know what? I'm not going to tell the boss how to do her job, and I'm not going to tell Shotzi how to change anything because I don't want to get a staple gun to my face. So, you keep doing you, Shotzi. Like, you know what you're doing. You got this, girl.
Yeah, the Homer Simpson back fixing clinic. It's just bend over backwards. The champions retained after an obviously awesome moon double eclipse followed up by a Shotzi senton. And no, Vic, you can't call it the total eclipse of the Blackheart. No, I will not have it. That's too forced. No.
I'm not even going to say I appreciate the temp, Vic. You're better than that. So start acting like it.
You're better than that.
There was also a very, very, very unique tandem offense maneuver by Blackheart and Ember Moon that I had never seen before. Like I said, I haven't been watching NXT weekly just because I'm on the AEW beat, but they did kind of like a Dominator. I think Ember picked I think it was Hartwell. She picked her up in what looked like a Dominator, and then Blackheart kind of swoops in with like a bottom lariat, and she kind of lands as fits as a cutter. It was a very unique maneuver, and I really, really enjoyed it because of all the fantastic tag teams that we have all over. I had just never seen that move before, so like kudos to them for figuring out a way to how to make some unique and innovative offense.
Yeah, her and Candice and Indy as well they've generally become a really great tag team as well. They feel a bit like the only real contenders, but they are contenders. We'll give them that. But yeah, so a decent little defense there. And the final match to talk about, we've done it! We've got through. It's not an insane length as well. Congratulations to us. The North American Championship, Johnny Gargano versus Bronson Reed, the winner of the gauntlet. NXT's Iron Man with the gear to match. But was he able to keep swimming after the waves of the tsunami? Yes. Yes, he was. The smaller champion certainly, he had to adapt after, for example, after the slingshot spear, and he just hit the big lad. It's like, well, we're going to have to change that there. Some really nice sequences and reversals as Reed countered with his power, but that darn nifty Gargano kept finding a way through. In the end, resorting to a mighty reverse Rana to ground the big lad. Bronson Reed is athletic. And that was just to set up the Gargano escape. As well, he had to resort to that level of stuff. But he then tried to recreate last TakeOver's one final beat onto the ramp, which he nailed on Kushida. Instead, Johnny got Razor's Edge back into the ring, just continuing that what you did on that little guy isn't going to work on this big fella. And only just
not this thick boy.
As well.
Not this thick boy. No.
Thick boy season. He can't be doing what he did last time. The challenger, sensing an ending, kept climbing high, but whiny Johnny kept finding his ways. Austin Theory keeping the champion in the match, but Johnny was still unable to hit one final beat as the Aussie reversed into the beach break. Another great reversal into that move. The man going big decided the match, though. His own mistake rather than Johnny or Austin cheekiness leading to it. Reed flying off the top with a moonsault to no avail, and two final beats. Is it still called one final beat if you hit two of them? Gargano remains North American champion. Really solid match.
Very solid match. I think Bronson Reed is just great, and I think the one thing is that when he did win the gauntlet, I wasn't certain that. I mean, obviously, there's always a level of uncertainty to take over, but I just wasn't certain if it was going to be the time, because if there's one thing that Gargano has not really had during his time in NXT is like that nice long title reign, and I think he has talked about wanting to. I mean, obviously everyone wants to have a long title reign, but it just seemed like it wasn't the time to beat him just yet. Maybe there might be a point where the North American title match could be, a great main event for an upcoming episode of NXT, or maybe even just a better marquee opponent at a TakeOver. But I mean, Reed looks so good. I mean, his offense is so unique, especially for a power guy. I loved how he transitions from a suplex into like a Death Valley driver, things like that, which, and he could hit that maneuver on guys as big as a Kross too. It's not just because Gargano is such a teeny man that it worked out so well. But and this was in terms of our variety. I mean, it was fun to watch. This was had similar aesthetics to Raquel and Io. Like one the fast paced. One the fast paced quick strike offense, while the other is like a power based type maneuvers and things like that. And Reed, you could still lose a match and still come out better for it. And I do think Reed is going to gain some fans after this match. And I do think that when he eventually does get his big title win, it's just going to mean that much more. Yeah,
I think it is building up Reed pretty strongly. I feel like this was the final step before he then builds to his next. It's obviously not the final step, but the one to take him to building to actually winning the championship. I feel like that's the right call. Dexter Lumis doesn't feel like that guy, but that's just because I'm not a fan of Dexter Lumis and not really gravitated to him that much. Yeah, I feel like Reed's your man. And I'm at that point where I want NXT to start transitioning to that next era. So this takeover as a whole, that's what I was talking about on the NXT review last week, was they set up this takeover to be like a transition one of just kick off the next generation for NXT. And the fact that both Kross and Gonzalez won is just fantastic. A fantastic look to then kick into that. But it's not all at the same time. Yeah, Johnny Gargano retaining, and I am a fan of that. I don't think a massive clean sweep as we're likely to see at WrestleMania. I don't think that's the answer. You can hold off on a few things. I mean, the one that's like, if there's any match at WrestleMania that's going to be held off, it's Big E Apollo, because they've got to have match number 10. You got to keep going to that. But yeah,
oh boy,
Gargano retaining, I'm fine with it. I saw, again, I'm saying that because I saw a few complaints of Gargano retains. Like, no, it's fine. You can lose it at the next one. You can build Reed more.
Yeah, you can build Reed more. You can do things. I mean, I think the overall thing with NXT, another thing that we've been conditioned to is that like it's weird for us to kind of see guys that have remained there, like because there always just seems to be that conversation of, oh well, maybe they'll get called up now. Maybe they'll get called up now. And Gargano has said like, I don't consider NXT to be this developmental idea. I like wrestling there, and not only do I like wrestling there, but I get featured greatly. Like, so it doesn't, like, I feel like people were like, oh well, we're ready for Johnny G to move up. I don't think A, he wants to move up, and B, would it make any sense, because he's just going to get lost in that large talent pool that they have. Like, he might as well remain on this show, which has usually NXT, I think in a lot of people's minds, remained as the superior show to the main roster. Although I think SmackDown this year has greatly improved and certainly combated NXT on the times where they were not as toned in as they are now. But this changeover is good because it is something that we as NXT fans are used to. We have these guys where eventually the wave comes and then we get this next batch of talent. I do think we need to not condition ourselves to always think that's going to be the case, because I don't think everyone is supposed to just go to what they call the main roster. I think some people like staying in NXT and want to continue building NXT, which they need to keep doing.
Yeah, because I can't remember who it was. Apparently on the conference call, or the media call after the show, Triple H gave like a list of people who have been doing quite a bit of producing stuff in terms of the matches. I can't remember who it was, but I'm pretty certain like the names you would expect, like Gargano, like Ciampa, they have been helping out produce matches. Balor's apparently shown interest as well. Like that makes sense. Like guys like that who are really interested. Oh, Pete Dunne, that was the other one. Like guys who are apparently really interested in that backstage stuff, and it's not just, am I going to be like WWE champion on the main roster? Like, no, they've got other interests as well. And to be fair, like Pete Dunne had his own school at like early 20s, so he's got a mind for it. It's fair to say. So it's. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure. And as he tweeted out, people are already learning from the unofficial school of Pete Dunne, which is just watching Pete Dunne break your bloody fingers.
Fingers. Yeah. That's a reference to something before we started recording. Yeah. Anyway, that is the end of the NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver review. 2 absolutely solid nights, and I feel like it's happened once again where the bar has been set for the main roster. At least they've got a day's break now without any kind of thing to happen. WrestleMania SmackDown is tonight. I don't know if I have any plans to watch it, given there is so much wrestling of WrestleMania itself. We'll see. Maybe I'll find time for the collective. Probably not this week.
I was gonna say, I mean, you got to be good to yourself, Imp. Don't tire yourself out, because the last thing you want to do is go into a wrestling show fatigued, because then it's gonna, detract from your enjoyment. And well, why watch wrestling if not to enjoy it? Is that not it? Persevering is the show. I mean, I remember I actually watched O'Reilly and Cole this morning, because right after I finished Kross and Balor, I was like, oh boy, and I felt myself sort of detracting, and I was like, I can't force myself to stay awake. I need to have a proper sleep cycle so I could enjoy this thing to its fullest. And I did. I certainly did, because I think if I tried to force myself to watch it last night, this would have been a totally different review. We would have been sitting on opposite sides. I would have been wearing a white shirt. Who knows what other atrocities might have occurred. But I'm happy, so happy, that I was able to join you today to review these shows, and I look forward to NXT's next phase.
As Joey Dark signs off. So I'll be live immediately following both nights of WrestleMania over the weekend. No, not SmackDown. I'm not that crazy. Yeah, only 2 super late nights in a row. Let's not go too mental. This is my recovery night. I'm bloody taking it. So not Laws of Pain. Wrestling Headlines Aftershock for both nights of WrestleMania. So you can join me live as soon as that ends. And wish me luck for night 2. All this week has been conserving my energy to see if I've got enough energy for that one. And I was watching Gary Cassidy tweeting about, right, I'm going to be on the media call now. I was like, oh God, Gary, a round of applause. A round of applause, mate. To say that, doing all the media stuff as well. I guess any of the British people as well, especially shout outs to, I guess, Inside the Ropes and Wrestle Talk guys who are doing all of that stuff and then doing the post stuff afterwards. It's like, no, I'm just doing WrestleMania. Let's not go crazy. And then
let's not go crazy.
Yeah, Joey and Mark cover the news. I can leave that to myself. I'll do my own little thing, my own little corner, my own video corner. Anyway, so thank you to everybody for watching or listening, because this will be available in podcast form as well. Would say, again, the podcast version, probably the more stable version, because the sound has apparently been perfectly fine. So thank you, laptop, for being good at some things at least. So I will be live on Saturday for WrestleMania, and also time to plug all the stuff if you're watching the video, you've seen our hashtags and things on the screen the entire time. But you can follow Joey at the Lucha Joe. You can follow me at the Damn Implicat. That's damn as in damn. I've also got my own Twitch, the Implications with 2 S's, and Wrestling Headlines. Just remember, I've got to plug the actual site we do stuff for. But there's at Wrestle Headlines. That's Wrestle without an E. For the Twitter, and at Wrestling Headlines for the Facebook. They don't do so I'm just rambling on. So, with that, I say thank you for listening, liking, watching, whatever. Joey, have you got anything else to plug before we say goodbye?
Oh, man, please do not sleep on the Imp's Twitch channel, friends. I watched him play the most recent Yakuza, and damn if it wasn't just a joy to watch. So make sure you follow him and check out all of my interviews that I've done for Wrestling Headlines at the Wrestling Headlines YouTube channel. You can see me have talks with such phenomenal talents as Tasha Steeles, Josh Barnett, or if you want to even roll back on over to my old stomping grounds at Wrestling Inc., I interviewed the great filmmaker Kevin Smith about his time in AEW and his relationship with Chris Jericho. Continue to support pro wrestling. Have fun WrestleMania weekend. Stay safe. Get vaccinated. Wear a mask. All of the above. And as most importantly, I will let the Impy Baby, take us home.
I shouldn't have told you that nickname.
Oh, yeah, it was a mistake. I will take that one to my grave.
So again, thank you for watching, liking, engaging in any form whatsoever. It's massively appreciated. Don't take it for granted. And with that, enjoy WrestleMania. Hopefully enjoy TakeOver as well. What did you think about it? Feel free to comment about it in the comments or hit us up on Twitter, whatever. We're always happy to chat. And with that, I bid you adieu. See you at the weekend, as I'm leaning right into the logo to say goodbye. With that, I bid you adieu. Adios.